We started this show. It was just a dream and an idea and a concept. Okay, now the concept of podcast wasn't anything new, but I think what we were doing was a new idea about focusing on the local community that was connected by water and featuring the important people that you thought were important in your hearts, in your minds, in your lives, right? And this guy helped me build it. Okay, and he really did. And this show would be absolutely nothing without John Watler. And I really do want the world to know what a special human he is and what an amazingly talented individual he is. And I want to thank him for all the hard work that he has given this show and this studio, and it is not lost on me the efforts and everything that he's done to make Connected by Water what it's become today. John has a lot of great opportunities ahead of him in the filming industry, in the creative industry, and we wish him nothing but the best. He has done nothing but do great things for our studio with class, and God, I'm really just getting choked up about this. So, John, we are going to miss the hell out of you.
When you started talking, I thought it was someone who's dead.
This is his last episode.
Yeah. No, he's here.
Episode.
Doing it.
Justin's taken over, so he's here. He's been shadowing
You're in great
John
hands.
For a couple of weeks.
Like
I made you a gift.
So we made you a little bit of a
thank
gift
you.
basket. John, come over here in camera.
All right.
Get in.
Hold on.
Field of view and all that.
I'm still working,
Right.
so I gotta put my notes down.
So yeah, still working. Listen, brother, I love you. Okay, and I wish you nothing but the
I
best.
love you guys
okay?
too.
All right. So I want you to do great things in life.
I appreciate it.
And I want you to go on and kill it, right? Like you do. You're an extremely talented individual, and I want to thank you for everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank
really.
you
So
for.
you get a bottle of rum. I think you already have rum, but
I do.
you get a hat and you
You
get
can
a
never
shirt.
have. You
And
can
you
never
get
have
some, we
enough.
wanted to give you something, right? And I want you to know that when the print comes out, I'm going to give you one.
Oh,
Okay?
thank you.
Yeah. So
That means
all
a
right.
lot.
So
Thank
just
you.
want to thank you for everything.
Thank you guys. I had a blast. I had a blast working on this project with Dennis, building it up, and I can't thank him more for giving me the opportunity. And I will not be a stranger. I'll be around the studio.
I know it.
Come by, and I still look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Do great things, brother.
Thank you.
It's good.
Right?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good with this. That's the sherry cask we're drinking today.
It's the wood.
It's the wood. It's all about the wood. And I like to call these, and I don't know if this is proper, I call them my little sherry cokes.
Adorable.
Right? So, yeah, they're fun.
Game
Sounds
face.
Mm-hmm. You like that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do I have a little crackling in my ear? You have any crackling? You hear any crackling
Yeah, I've heard chewing ice.
in the audio? Is that what that is?
Oh, everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm like, what the
Sorry.
hell is that? I'm like, this is something wrong. There's like a fuzzy.
ASMR.
Is this
sorry.
because you're chewing ice?
I'm sorry.
That's not good for your teeth.
I wasn't be chewing ice. I didn't know that you guys could hear that.
It's a,
Sorry.
it's a Canadian
Alright, so
thing.
just so you know, we
Yeah.
hear everything.
Okay,
So, yeah. It's
Sorry.
funny actually when,
Alan.
when Marcy was our first bartender, right? She went in the back and she was like, hey, I'm looking for more Pilar cups, or do you know where the Pilar cups are, or anything like that? And Paul Castronova was in here, and he's like, you do realize you're mic'd up, right? So, yeah. So,
All right, note to self.
Note to self.
Note to self.
Best
Good.
behavior.
You warm?
Are you talking to me or who?
But backup bartender? No, if you fail, just coming in.
Right. So, actually, could you remove that return policy sign? Just take that out. Yeah, we don't need anyone to learn our return policy while we're. So, all right, we're good. Are you warm?
No, I'm good.
No, I mean you warmed up.
Oh,
you,
yeah,
You good?
we're
Yeah.
good.
All right. Come on, you gotta get with the stage lingo, Nicole. All right. So,
I'm warmed.
All right,
I'm warmed
good.
up.
Fired up.
now I will have you know, right, that Nicole is a highly intelligent individual, right?
So far, so
by
good.
all standards.
She hasn't unimpressed.
So, I actually think that she's going to have some good commentary today. Sure, I'm confident. Look at her with the big eyes. She's like, what?
The pressure.
The pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Oh,
no
science
pressure.
is on.
I'll try to
Right.
be witty.
Yeah.
Try to be, well, you don't have to try.
Use
You
your
are
words. Yeah, yeah.
witty. She's the smartest Alec I know. That's for sure.
I'll let
Right?
my dad know. That's where I get it from.
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do. Thank you for coming in and
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah.
hanging out. Right, we're gonna talk a little shop today. We're gonna talk a little science today. We're gonna talk a little coastal today. We're gonna go
Education,
coastal, right?
conservation.
Yeah. I'd
all
like
of
to
it.
think that what we're gonna do today is educate the public a little bit about real versus perception. Right? Maybe.
Got to keep it real, man.
Gotta keep it real. Right.
It's a crazy world right now, and there's too much flying around information off the handle. People getting fired up for stuff that's not real. When there is other stuff that's legitimately dangerous or crazy that we should be addressing, and that
Okay.
are kind of brushed aside for other reasons.
All right, good. So we're gonna sift through the trash.
We're going on
here
a
bit.
journey. We're going on a little bit
All
of
right,
a...
good. So I'm going to officially introduce you here today. So
Cool.
we are with Dr. Charlie Gregory today, right? I know you don't like when I call you
Cut
doctor.
it out. No, there's a time and a place. Thank you.
Time and place. This is the time, this is the place. So welcome to Connected by Water, presented by Joey Cardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and fueled by Papa's Pilar Rum. I am your host, Dennis Friel. Paul Castronova reminds me to say that every time. So, and we're going to, like we said, we're going to go on a journey today. Before we get started, I want to mention, give a shout out to a few of to all of our sponsors that keep the lights on and keep things going around here. I want to say a special thank you to the family of Joey Accardi and the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram people,
The family.
and the dealership. And I like talking about the family because it really is what it's all about there at Joey Accardi. You know, it's all about, it was Eddie Accardi's place and he left it to his son, so there's a legacy business there. And, and Joey's just taking it to the next stratosphere. And they do so much good in the community. They really do. So we always want to give them credit for that. If you're in the market for a new truck or vehicle, please go see them. Go see Dean. I don't want to make any promises, but if you do go see Dean, you might get a little bit better deal than the next person if you mention the show. So I just wanted to say that. I also want to give a shout out to Papa's Pilar Rum. They remind you never to be a spectator. They provide rum for us every episode. But that's not all they do. They're
so
just
much
another,
more.
yeah, so much more. They're just a great group of guys. Great company to be associated with. They're keeping the Hemingway tradition alive. Today we are drinking the sherry cask. One of the unique things about Papa's Pilar Rum is they're normally aged in bourbon casks, which gives them their unique flavor. But this, however, is aged in sherry casks, which gives them an even more unique flavor, and it's very distinct tasting rum. So I highly suggest that everyone give Papa's Pilar a try if you haven't already. I want to give a shout out to Papa's Raw Bar, our local place here. They eat, drink, and be local crew. And if you're in that neighborhood and hungry, and I suggest you stop by and grab a bite to eat and maybe something off of the Connected by Water inspired sushi menu. We do have our own sushi menu.
Get
there
right out of town.
Yeah, at the restaurant.
And it's the
So-
same Papas? It's the rum?
No, they're not.
There.
There's synergy there, but they're not the same company.
Ah.
Definitely, they are there. They do work together though. And Papamigos is another place that we are about to embark on a bunch of big new projects with Papamigos, with its taqueria and raw bar as well.
Cool.
And
I
they're
stopped by
opening
there
up.
on the way here.
Did you?
Yep.
It's fantastic stuff, right? So they got a food truck here in the Bailey Arts District while they're waiting to build their restaurant. And they're opening up also a Coconut Creek location. And so I don't want to jump the gun, but we may or may not have 2 large murals going up in that place. And we're going to be doing a bunch of different apparel projects with them. So we got a lot going on. We're very excited about it. ACR is another one of our sponsors that we want to give a shout out to. They preach the science of survival, and they're essential. I mean, in my mind, there's you got to have it. It's just like having gas in your boat. There's no sense for anyone to go offshore without an EPIRB these days. If anything goes wrong, and one flick of the switch and one press of the button, and then all of a sudden you're being rescued. No doubt about it. So it's really the magic tool of all magic tools. So check them out for ACR. I want to give a shout out to Maui Jim, which I'm a brand ambassador for Maui Jim, and it's another everyone we're associated with is just an outstanding group of people, and Maui Jim's no different. Same thing with our friends at Olokai. So, we want to just give a shout out to those best products on the market in their class. So, I've said my piece on my sponsors, right? But I'm proud to. I really do love them all. Dr. Gregory, I want to introduce you to the crowd. You've been on the show before, right? But I really want to when we were on together before, it was you and Miles and John and Johnny, and we were all hanging out. We were talking about some of the clean water stuff and the things that we could do in our local communities, the things that your guys' company is getting done right now, and we've evolved in that manner since our last conversation. But I want to give a little background on you because we're going to talk about some topics today regarding coastal conservation, clean water, coral reefs, sharks.
Is that the sound of
Right.
it sounded like fizzy and ice pouring like a slow-mo McDonald's commercial or something. Wow. All right.
It's magic. So I just want to kind of, and I know, I'm going to do this. I know you don't really want me to do this, but the reason I'm going to do this is because give people a little background.
No,
I
please
just want to
do.
give people a
Please
little
do.
background. We're talking to you. You received your undergrad in biology and marine biology at the College of William and Mary. You received your degree your animal science degree in aquaculture at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, right near Waikiki.
Good times.
Right?
That was a good move.
You ended up getting your doctorate at University of Florida, that's no slouch of a resume right there as far as your education goes. And also getting your any medical degree from the University of Florida is incredible. So I just wanted to let people know that I'm not just bringing on some dude, right? So I'm bringing on a guy who knows what he's talking about and what he's doing. So you also, among many of the things that you've accomplished in your career, right now head up the Reef Institute in Palm Beach, and maybe you can kind of tap us into a little bit of the things that you have going on there.
Yeah. I'm a major player there. I started it a few years ago with another veterinarian, and now there's an executive director who knows the world of nonprofits. Juanita does a great job. We've got 2 other full-time employees that do education and take care of the endangered corals, and I'm there more than part-time, but helping manage the health of the animals. And the whole point of that world is a combination of education and outreach to get everybody understanding the reality of the plight of corals, both in Florida and worldwide. But we're also finding solutions. So we're doing coral seed banking, we're doing research, we've got interns, armies of interns coming in doing projects, and we're trying to put together some major plans, some long-term stuff that can do coral restoration.
Okay.
And I think we'll talk a little bit more about why coral is important as we explore the universe of the ocean right now. But
Right.
the Reef Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida is right now a home for a bunch of endangered corals that are organized by government agencies that are part of a major seed banking effort by something like 20 aquariums, science institutions, and museums and stuff like that. And we're part of that. We just had some baby corals spawn, which was awesome.
So you're growing coral too.
We're growing it, and baby coral were spawned by some adults that are a pretty rare species. I think we're the only people that are holding a golf ball coral. They're not big, but they are rare, and the point of seed banking is to protect species from extinction.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's good that they're reproducing.
Which this is a problem right now.
It's a major
the
problem.
The diminishing of coral reefs is a major problem. And we know we touched on it last episode, but I really want to go a little bit more in depth on, to how big of a problem it really.
Don't get me started. A couple quick facts. We used to have, when I was born, early 80s, a respectable amount of coral cover around the world. It was functional. The reef was doing what it was supposed to do. In Florida, since then, we've gone down to, at this point, about 2% of what was around 40 years ago.
2%?
2. So the world is at like 40, 50%.
Mm-hmm.
But Florida, we just have a lot of uses of the nearshore environment, a lot of people, and it just happens to be right in this area where the coral is.
Mhm.
And that's not a mistake. We're in a very flat area because ancient coral reef has just been building out and making land, along with their kind of synergistic mangroves. We've got a very cool environment to live around.
Mhm.
We've got a flat area that's easy to clear out, and we've got a reef to protect us from hurricanes and whatnot.
Right.
And so a lot of people started hanging out here a long time ago, and we built it up. We've got great weather, we've got pristine water, and so a lot of people, set up shop here. And because there's so many people, that's a problem for the water chemistry, and it's a problem for disease management as far as corals go.
Yeah. So I mean, what's really that 2%?
It's the worst in the world,
Oh
I
my
think.
God.
Yeah.
That's almost zero.
Yeah, our barrier reef is not functional anymore. So we've got some statistics from some people who know what they're doing that have figured out the cost of not having coral reef where it used to be
Mm-hmm.
is significant. It's in human lives and billions of dollars per kilometer, which is a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's becoming a political issue.
Right.
I think it's realistically an economic issue at this point. Cat's out of the bag.
Okay.
And the major considerations, really, when you talk about the potential for people's, not just property, but like lives being affected by if there's a Category 5 hurricane, or even just the ongoing storm surges and king tides, there's
Mhm.
full moon tides that are becoming higher and higher.
Right.
Yikes. So
Right.
there are plans. There's a lot of people working together to address the problem, but right now I think I hope we're at the worst that it's going to be.
What's the? I mean, the obvious question is, what's the solution?
Lots of different solutions.
Okay.
Big picture, things like artificial reef to
Mhm.
create a temporary scaffolding, an infrastructure to protect against erosion and storm surge. Coral breeding projects. So you got the seed bank, and now we actually are figuring out, just in the last 2 years, figuring out how to spawn coral.
Mm-hmm.
The moon and the summer temperatures and sunset time, everything work together so that they can synchronize and spawn. There's a big coral head just sitting there. How does it know that 10 feet away or a mile away is going to reproduce at the same time so that they can make viable babies?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, but they do.
Right.
And we're just starting to figure it out. And so coral breeding projects, in the last year, are popping up at major universities, science institutions. And this year, I think we're going to be working with the government, with other big aquariums, to shuttle around coral reproductive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be sharing adults. There's going to be on loan colonies sooner or later. But when they produce their eggs, their bundles, we're going to be able to shoot those around and reproduce them with other ones and start to coordinate an effort to put babies back.
That's
They got to
highly
be resistant.
fascinating.
They got to be awesome. They got to be durable. Something else we can do, we can take the ones that have survived, the 2% that's still out here,
Mhm.
and bring them in and chop them up. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a scientist. I'm a veterinarian. But if you take a coral that's something like 10 by 10, whatever it is, 10 by 10, and it grows in one around its edge, 1 inch, 1 centimeter, whatever it is, around its edge every year, you've got 100 plus 40, maybe 44 of mass growth.
Mhm.
But if you chop that same one up into 100 baby pieces, now you've got 100, and then it grows an inch around its edge, and so it's like 400, 500. And so you go from 140 to 500, you've exponentially
Yeah, I was gonna say,
increased
that's
how much coral
exponential,
you're
yeah.
growing. So the secret they figured out a while ago in the aquarium trade, because they know if you get lots of little ones, you can make a lot of money by growing those faster than if you have one big one.
Mm-hmm.
Then the scientists figured it out, and now it's being used for rapid scaling of restoration efforts around the world. And I think Florida's going to figure this out very soon, in conjunction with spawning them and growing them from little to big.
Mm-hmm.
We can break up survivors or spawn survivors, and there's a lot of different ways to create a lot of coral fast.
That's outstanding, really. And what do you think about all this? So
That's
joining us
crazy.
today as our bartender, right, is
Yeah.
not only just some bartender, it's Nicole who works here, right? And
The infamous.
right.
She's a smart cookie. We were talking earlier.
Absolutely.
She's got opinions
She's
about
also a
stuff.
biology
Thank
major
you.
currently.
Biology and thinking about switching into ocean engineering. I'm trying to convince you to do instead of just.
That would be interesting.
Right?
That'd be definitely something to look into.
That would put you right at the forefront of potential big artificial reef projects.
That would be crazy.
So what do you think?
That's,
No pressure.
Yeah.
Commit to it on
Sounds
the
like
tape
a
here.
lot of fun, but a lot of liability.
We need you. We need
But
you.
risk is good. You gotta take a lot of risks to make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're doing a lot of this research and a lot of this development at Reef Institute,
Yeah.
right?
3 things that are cooking right now. We've got the babies that just spawned. That was super exciting. But the materials for the artificial reefs. Using recycled materials like glass,
Really?
highway cement.
Mm-hmm.
We're growing coral fragments on that. We're
Yeah.
growing snails, hermit crabs, urchins to make sure they can survive chewing on it, growing on it, and then using that, we're going to create modular systems that even if it's your weekend and you've got a buddy and a snorkel, you could put together in your favorite spot. Now, there's a lot of zoning stuff.
Right.
DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, DERM, Environmental Resource Management, they're awesome. They are a lot of very smart people who are just figuring out the importance of this or making it known to other government entities to shuttle funding into this because it's becoming a big deal. It's known that it's a big deal. So DERM, for example, has let us use their boat for scouting out corals, bringing us to artificial reef stuff. They've already helped on the deployment of a lot of things. I know CCA was doing
CCA.
deployment.
Yep, they do a lot of good, a lot of deployment.
Yep.
Yeah, and they actually just did something in cooperation with the Kenny Chesney project, which was more so a CCA initiative, but I think maybe the Kenny Chesney guys just kind of put their stamp on it.
Yeah, new
Right,
spot up in Delray.
Yeah, but I know CCA was heavily involved with getting that going.
Cool.
Yeah.
Kenny Chesney also helped out with the Harris Foundation, and we'll see if he helps out Reef Institute. But at the end of the day, we're piloting something that doesn't require massive boats and $30,000 a day for logistics to deploy. These things are modular. You could put them together as 2 or 3 plates that create just a small lobster house. You could put together, a 10-foot by 10-foot tall by mile long
You guys
wall.
are developing these things?
Oh, it's cool, man.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's cool.
We
Yeah.
have pictures to roll up here on and anything?
Sooner or
Yeah,
later,
sooner
I
or
think I
later,
can.
not yet.
I think I could share, and you might be able to
Yep.
show it.
Yep.
We're showing more and more people. Real ones are made, and we'll try to deploy them in early June.
Oh, nice. Oh, soon.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool.
So yeah, we're talking to the commercial divers today. Talking to our partners, Michael Singer Studios. This guy Jason Bregman. Fantastic partners for the Reef Institute. They are a design studio that you can see if you ever go through Denver Airport. They make these big kind of organic artificial interface structures. They are responsible for a lot of living shoreline in South Florida. I think they're in a Guggenheim museum. Like they've got some real
Really?
respectable projects. Yeah.
Wow, that is respectable.
So these guys know
Definitely.
the material science, they know the design, and they know scalability. And so they are helping. And something I've noticed, snorkeling in the Keys and being a South Florida resident, when you are on, at this point, a barren rock flat, they call it hard bottom flat, it used to be covered in coral. Now it's still got a lot of soft corals and a lot of algae, but every so often you come across an oasis. And usually, ironically, it's around some material that was left there by humans, be it an old lobster trap or a piece of highway cement or something. But that little bit of structure that's still provided where coral should have been providing it houses some sea urchins, maybe a crab that eats seaweed, little cling crab, some curator fish. And so they're like oases that can create a nidus for coral to land and grow. Because they have animals that keep the surface clean, they keep the algae away, because they're given a hiding spot, now baby corals smell that and can land there and grow, or we can artificially put coral on those.
They smell it.
They can smell it, they can hear it, they see in infrared. They're more
think
impressive
they
than we thought they were.
And that shouldn't surprise me, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone refer to corals as smelling
Oh.
anything.
They can get in on
Yeah,
it.
but it doesn't surprise me to hear. Yeah, of course they can, right? Because they're a living,
They're like
breathing organism. But yeah,
it's wild. They can. A lot of things like baby urchins, we're finding they know where the adults are because they can smell them, or they sense a pheromone of some sort, or they can sense the environment that the adults have cleared, that they've created as like a landing strip for the babies. The babies are up in circulation in the ocean currents for a good amount of time before coming down. A month in the case of urchins, a couple days in the case of most corals, and so they have some control over where they go. They get carried by certain currents and gyres and spiral back to their original reefs, but they also can end up hundreds, thousands of miles away. And so they have to have extremely good sensory abilities to get where they need to go to survive.
yeah. Would you say that I guess anything that needs to eat or reproduce probably smells? Has some sort of olfactory system?
Kind of, or a sensory ability to trigger to start growing. Either
Yeah.
like water or some fertilizer or, yeah.
Something to like kickstart it.
Yeah.
Tadpoles, I'm trying to think of like some of the weirdest, most adaptive animals on the planet, but like there's certain frogs that grow on their parents' backs. There's certain, snakes that can stay
think those are-
underground forever.
I think those are tree frogs. Tree frogs, the female frogs lay eggs on the males and then they carry it.
Yeah, they got little
Seahorses.
backpacks, seahorses. So there's some cues out there, and animals need to be able to be hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Migratory patterns, even things like jellyfish, we're finding they're strategic. They know what they're doing,
Really?
and we never thought they did.
They're not just floating along like
They've
they
got
say
patterns
Pisces
that
like
have
me
been
float through
developed.
life.
No, they've got patterns. They've been developed for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, nice. It always kind of I don't want to say amazes me, but I just can't get past it in my head sometimes that people can't see the promising futures that artificial reefs have for coastal shorelines and breeding life and everything.
I think up to this point,
what's the argument against that? I mean,
yeah, we didn't want to hurt the existing hard bottom community in
Right.
case it could recover on its own.
okay,
But I think the government's just getting over that now.
yeah,
It's tragic. I wish it were true, but if you put a baby coral back on a hard bottom flat, the scientists are seeing that a big parrot will come and just chew it over. Some do well. Moak did research initially on this 5-10 years ago. They put lots of little corals in there, and some were 80-90% survival, some were 40-50. New corals are going out there across the entire reef tract. There's a big project right now it's like a half a dozen scientists with sourced baby corals from a half a dozen places. And there's a few success stories, but a lot of tragic situations where you grow up these little brain corals and you put them out and they get chomped pretty quickly. The instance I was talking about before where you can create a little bit of structure, I think has huge potential. Once you put a little structure on there, then other animals that curate the environment, that protect it, little angry damselfish that chase away bigger fish, might be able to better protect the corals. Not my analogy. A smart aquarist came up with this. I think his name's Richard Ross. And then it was told to me through some SeaWorld aquarists. But putting coral back in some reef situations now is like putting orphans back into a burning orphanage. It doesn't make sense. It's like, why would we take them out and rescue them
It's a
to
hell
put
of
them
an
back
analogy,
into
or a
a
metaphor.
tragic...
yeah,
Yeah, so we need to either let the orphanage fully burn down and then clear it out of the way, but ideally we build it back for them and then put them into an environment that's more natural. Once the scaffolding is down, and if we can get corals to grab on and grow, then naturally they should recruit other coral.
Interesting. So you mentioned earlier, that it's become political, but it's really economical. In recent years, those words have become synonymous, right?
Tragic,
Can you
but true.
separate them a little bit for me here and tell me what the difference is? Yeah.
I wrote a letter to our Congress people today. Today was the deadline. I would have encouraged other people to do it, but there's Reef Resilience Restoration Plan or something that's an update of a 2000 bill. It was like a coral conservation bill. And it's just using what we've learned since then to be smart about deploying money, deploying resources, and communicating amongst government agencies. But the difference between the economics and the politics inherently is melded in Florida because of usage issues and because of what people perceive rather than what they understand scientifically. So the goal is that we get better and better. Uh-oh. Thanks, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Wow, Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, quick on the
I'm
draw.
calling you for more input so that you're distracted and I don't get hammered here. But the reality is we, up to this point, still treat the marine resource as though it's 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And economically, that's starting to shoot us in the foot. And politically, it's a faux pas to say, oh, put any regulation on fishing or any regulation. I don't say stop fishing.
Right.
I think it's super important when we invest in a little bit of research and a little bit of education so everyone can use the resources smartly and appropriately.
Right.
Celebrate the resource. If you don't value a resource, it's not valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. I was lucky enough to go down to the Amazon where they catch a lot of the aquarium fish for the aquarium trade. And if there isn't that trade, then they just burn the rainforest down instead. So it's important to value the resource.
Right.
Keep those fishermen valuing the neon tetras so that they don't use, the land for something else.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up because
That's crazy.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, the funny thing is when it comes to politics and fisheries and reefs and stuff like that, a lot of different groups or political parties or politicians themselves want to come in and wave a flag and put their stamp on things, and maybe might be doing things just out of symbolism and not necessarily out of fact or science-based research. Even we have a big problem. We talk about it all the time. We feel like the red snapper situation is just like way overregulated. And now we do feel that regulations do need to happen from time to time, but we have a situation right now with sharking,
Yeah.
right? And
I want to talk about the red snapper, the sharks, even Goliath grouper.
Yeah.
There's a
The
smarter
Goliath
way to
grouper,
do it.
Right, there's a smarter way to do it, and I was kind of hoping that you could open up about that kind of stuff, because that's normally our crowd that watches the show
My
is
goodness.
the anglers and the fishermen.
We need the country and the rock and roll.
We're kind of up against a big battle right here, because there's a lot of political jockeying going on, and we're actually feeling the brunt of it.
Dennis, listen, I think you are in a position to bring the right people around. We maybe get a little bit longer of a table and a little bit of politics, a little bit of science, a little bit of the fishery, and come up with solutions that make sense.
Yeah.
And then it's funny. I'm not much into the political process, but I know people who are. It's easier said than done, but once you know how, the work I've been doing with certain groups lately, I'm starting to understand it more and more. And if you have something that makes sense for everybody, and that's, I think, the bridge I wanted to make too. The politics of marine conservation, or at least the science involved with sustainability, is good business.
Good
and
business.
It's an everyone's a winner situation at this point.
Right.
So even if they're out there to make a name for themselves, it's good business.
Good business.
And I think the traditional thing that separates the two parties, right, is, well, you're doing this for the people and for the money, or you're doing this for the environment and for the animals. At this point, the people and the money can be synonymous with the environment and the animals.
Yeah.
In terms of bringing it back. Because the reef is the perfect. I was watching a documentary just the other night at an event, and it was about it was escaping extinction, right? Very cool movie. Talks about all the rhinos and tigers and stuff, but they forgot coral. I was like, coral's like the number one thing.
Oh,
And I'm biased.
They didn't bring it up at all?
Not at all. I think the most valuable animal right now to conserve for ecosystems, for humans, for economics is coral.
Yeah.
And South Florida has a unique opportunity to invest in coral at the same time as politicizing it and making it an economically relevant consideration, because there's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of coastal infrastructure. There's a lot of education that can all grow from taking care of that one group of animals.
I mean, education's key, right? And I think that's really just the light shutter on all of it. Let me just fire off a few questions to you, right?
Ready.
Is shutting off fishing on coral reefs the answer to restoring coral reefs?
Yikes. Yeah, that was the answer to the recent documentary. I don't know if you didn't see it. You heard all about it, or you ever got it?
With the Seaspiracy?
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet.
All right.
I have a lot of people talking to me about it. And to be honest with you, I haven't wanted to see it because I already know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't mean to sound myopic by saying that, but I saw the preview for it. So if you put two and two together and figure out what the agenda is on that one.
I wouldn't call it a documentary.
I'm gonna watch it.
It was a very
because
exciting...
Johnny wants me to watch it,
Yeah.
and other people would keep saying, "Oh, you have to see it regardless. You have to see it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you saw it.
I saw it, and there was a bunch of great points. There's a lot of derelict old nets out there that are that are inadvertently tangle up sea turtles and sharks and stuff. That's not good at all. And that is a huge source of plastic pollution that we can absolutely mitigate. I really like there's an analogy in it, something like banning straws to stop plastic pollution is like banning toothpicks to stop deforestation. But on the one hand, it's right in terms of the statistics. Okay, fine, but it's more about the gesture. It's more about the awareness. Right, and we can start from there. Right, a candle against the darkness, whatever the expert. Yeah. So the whole picture, though, at the very end of that movie for me was pretty righteous and not very scientific, and they had this solution at the end that was like, don't eat fish. And I was like, okay, well,
that's what they got out of this whole thing.
They said don't eat fish, and that drives the economics of it. And the reality is, in the world right now, fish provide protein for like a third of humanity, and they create, when sustainable or at least not over harvested, they are fundamental to the economics of the way the world goes around right now.
Yeah.
And we're figuring it out fast. We're doing some science. We're doing, the United States especially, we're doing a good job, right? Over regulating.
You bring that up. I don't think we're the problem at all.
Yeah.
The United States of America.
No.
I mean, there's countries all over the world that are not regulated at all. You want to see what no regulation does, you look at them. Right? Then you want to see what over regulation does. Okay, we had that has its effects too. I've always been a balanced guy. I've always been, everything needs its balance, everything needs its yin and yang. You know what I mean? And you go one way too far and the other way, no good things happen. Right? Here we are. That's where we need to be. Right?
We're all hanging out in the
my
middle.
simple philosophy on everything,
right?
Right? So if you look at the USA, it's like, hey, we're taking this a little bit too far. And you look at places like other countries that I'm not going to name. I guess I could name them, but China and the like. You know what I mean? Horrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this the other extreme, but they have different problems altogether, and I think those are maybe more symptoms of those problems, right? And not necessarily doing things on purpose. You know, I think that's just how it is.
My answer to the don't eat fish was like, all right, let's take it a few more steps and say, don't drive cars, don't have kids.
Right.
Like, you can get pretty escalated pretty fast if you want to come up with black and white issue solutions.
Yep.
It's not that simple. It's clearly not. You need to be smart. You need to think local, and then create an infrastructure that supports either change, if there needs to be a change, or supports good decision making if it's something that is an option for people.
Right. A lot of I do a lot of discussions, a lot of talks with a lot of the guys that are out there on the water every day, and people that are doing it for a living. We've had them on this show before.
I've seen them on this show.
Yeah, Thomas Osborne, Patrick Price, and Art Sapp and Skip Dana, and a lot of these guys that are on the water all the time are leading the charge as far as getting our voices heard for fisheries and for fishermen and for sustaining the livelihoods in those realms. There seems to be a clear and distinct correlation to the lifting of the sandbar shark regulations, and also the limiting of the commercial shark fisherman industry, which I want to say clearly, without a doubt, that the shark finning and the shark commercial industry here are two separately exclusive
Let's make that
things.
clear.
Yeah, they're not the
International
same thing.
shark fishing and the finning trade, which, to be real, is getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Worldwide, it's interesting social media campaigns in the East that are bringing to light to the average people who just never even understood it, never even understood where the fins were coming from, and shark fin soup, it's a delicacy, let's get fancy and go out.
Mm-hmm.
Now they know it's not a delicacy. It's like, in certain circumstances, smoking in the United States. Everybody used to smoke here in the United States, and then there was some general understanding. And now, okay, still, if you want to smoke, that's fine, but at least you know the reality of some risks involved,
Right.
or of the implications of your choice.
Right. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so, but very, very different than the shark situation in the United States. We have, it's like 20, 30 species in Caribbean waters and Florida waters, and is it 6 or just not regulated at all? Well, only regulated up to a certain size.
A certain size.
Yeah,
right?
like a nurse shark, super common. You can't take less than a 4-footer out there. But the rest that can interfere with economic activities and do, I wonder if there's already a task force. I want to believe that I've met a lot of very intelligent fishermen and very intelligent scientists who are fishermen, who can see these and then try to get at the highest levels possible in regulation and government, in their ability to change that. And I don't know where the process is at right now.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to people thinking that sharks are facing extinction.
As they would from many of the documentaries lately.
But I don't think anything could be further from the truth. And that's just based upon, Art Zapp is on the show all the time, and he talks about, the quintessential scientist that goes out to do research, that goes to a part of the water in a depth of the water where it's not common to catch sharks, and drops a line and says, nope, there's no sharks here, right? And meanwhile, we're all fishing in the 130 into the 200 mark, and we're getting, our tunas and our kingfish and our sailfish.
Any of the yellowtail snapper mounts, man. You won't land 1 out of 5 on those things now.
And we're just losing fish left and right. Right? And so you cannot tell me for one shy second that sharks are facing extinction. I mean, and nobody, listen, I can say this like without a doubt in my mind. Like, no one from our standpoint on this wants sharks to go away and die and become extinct. We want there to be millions of them. That's for sure. We just want them to stay away from our fish.
I'm laughing. Think about this. So they are big and they're smart. They're a lot smarter than people think they are.
It's crazy.
So if even there's a dozen bowls scouting out a fishing ground, they'll eat all day. They'll steal all your fish from a dozen fishing boats that are trying to make a living. A shark relocation program? I don't know. Like, because they know where to go. They know the sound of their favorite boats. It's like a dinner bell, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know how many are out there. There might only be 3 dozen of a certain species of shark. And because there's a lot of different types of shark that are messing with the boats, they get up close enough and you're like, that's definitely a bull, right? Right. Definitely little black tips ripping through the flats, stealing stuff. But I don't know some of the rare ones. I think I know some people who do, though. And if we want to have conversations, I know some shark guys who are scientists and anglers.
Yeah.
Scientists and enthusiasts.
I definitely like to pursue that a little bit more. I mean, we could regroup with those guys on that for sure.
Solutions.
And set up the panel like you're talking about, and really kind of get to the bottom of this, because I really do think that, with a lot of the regulations that get put on to anglers, I mean, it affects economies, it affects lives, and it's just, we talk about not good for business. It's not good for business the other way.
Right.
It definitely feeling an economic
There's a balance
for it. Yeah, it's definitely need to have a balance there. I want to go back to coral reefs a little bit with you. and talk about bleaching.
Mm.
And can you kind of educate me and
I know
the
a little bit about
crowd,
this.
and maybe she can add on to this? Can we?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But coral bleaching is normally due to warmer waters and then like too much zooantheles in the corals itself, causing it to bleach. But that doesn't mean that they're dead. It just means that they're in like recovery mode. And then if they're left bleached for too long and there's not enough change, maybe like the calcium in the water or something else, then they'll die.
Yes.
And it's hard to bring them back.
A lot of that is true.
Yeah.
I told you she doesn't know anything.
The corals are they're funny. They're like a living ecosystem. They're both an animal, and then they have little plants inside of them called the zooxanthellae.
Zooxanthellae.
Little microalgae. That imagine if I had green skin and could go out for lunch rather than have a cheeseburger and get energy from the sun. That's how they survive and get most of their energy. Most corals on the coral reef do that, and when they're stressed, and more often than not lately it's because of temperature, too hot weather, they create an environment inside of their body that the zooxanthellae don't help with. And the zooxanthellae end up hurting the coral, and the coral kicks them out.
It's like an overcompensation kind of thing?
Kind of like a backswing, yeah. So it gets too hot. The zooxanthellae make too much oxygen inside of the skin of the coral, and they don't like that. And so they make all these radicals, and the coral goes, nope, you're out, and kicks them out. But that hurts the coral in the context that they can't get all that free sugar, all that free energy anymore. So they're set way back, and they proceed to live low profile for a while and potentially get new zooxanthellae over time if the situation gets good, but otherwise they die. And so bleaching doesn't mean death, but it usually is a forecaster of death.
Yeah. All right.
And it's definitely not a good thing.
It looks like they're dead, though. Like if someone didn't know all of that and they saw all the white, they would think that it was dead.
Yeah.
So there's hope for the bleached corals.
Well, I think there's a certain amount of time that when they're bleached,
give them a couple months and you're in trouble. If they stay bleached.
If they stay.
So today, one of our more rare corals was a little more pale than usual. And I don't know why. It was having a bad couple of days, but we put it into a little bit of less light, and I gave it a little bit more of syringe food, of actual, they can catch food with their tentacles also, to supplement, and I think it's going to be okay. But bleaching in of itself is not a death sentence, but it's definitely not good. It's like a fever with humans.
It's like a warning sign.
Yeah, that's interesting and strange.
It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, so in Florida...
You're going to miss when I say this, John. You're going to miss my little segue. You know you are, right? I always segue.
Time for strange questions.
There you go.
Something strange about the...
Yep. So that is the call sign for our ever-popular segment, the Papa's Pilar Strange Questions.
Yeah.
Where we field questions from people you may or may not know.
Yeah, I remember doing this on the last one. I can't wait to see what happens.
Right.
They're jokes? It's like...
Well, I don't know. There's a variety of things in here, and I just copy and paste them, and we see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, so, Dr. Charlie Gregory, your first strange question, or shall I say cluster of strange questions, and I might have to weed through these, because there's a lot, because apparently the people I asked got very excited when I asked them about the strange questions and gave me like 17 questions apiece, so I gotta kind of like rifle through these.
See what happens.
Lenitafix.
Okay.
Right? Asks.
How you got it?
Did I say her name right?
Lenita.
Yeah,
runs the nonprofit.
Lenitafix.
Wow.
Sorry.
What's she gonna do?
I pronounced your name wrong. Sorry about that. So, she wants to know how old you were when you owned your first saltwater aquarium.
Sure. I think it was 10. 10 years old.
Saltwater at 10?
And this was a wild age, man. They didn't have very good lights for keeping the coral alive back then, and I had a lot of crazy animals from Connecticut, Massachusetts, where we were living, mixed with things that we're getting at the store. So imagine Nemo with flounders, and I think we had seahorses in there. It was a Wild West aquarium.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I tell you, at a young age, I killed a few animals, but I learned lessons, and hopefully I'm a better fish veterinarian for it.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to jump through these here with her. Yeah, she wants to know if at sea camp, did you have more fun as a camper or a staffer?
A staffer, but you know about sea camp, right?
I've been to sea camp twice.
Yeah, it's a Florida tradition.
Yes.
And in the world of marine biology, no?
Never
You've-
heard of it.
You've never been to sea camp? In
Never
Big
heard of
Pine?
that.
No?
Big Pine? Oh,
Yeah.
down the Keys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big Pine, mile mark 33. You go
Yeah.
to sea camp,
No.
you'll have a good marine biology experience.
Really?
Oh, I went twice.
I think I
I
might
went
have
once
been
in
there.
I went once in the 6th grade, and I went once in high school.
There's little cabins. They take you on the boat.
Mhm.
Then you bring back what you found out there inside.
Yeah,
and
you do
research
little-
it. I've
little-
been there. Yeah.
You go to the conch fields and
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
then you get
They'll
to
bring
you
back
do-
algae and you
grab
take it
some-
apart.
Yeah, the algae
Yeah,
and the
it's
And if
sponges.
you're
and
lucky,
everything.
there's an octopus or something in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I
she
did that, I did
But it
that.
was called
That was a while
Newfound
ago.
Harbor Marine Institute or something like that when you were there.
Yeah.
NHMI. So during the school year, it's NHMI. During the summer, it's sea camp. I was a camper there for summer when I was 12 and had the experience of my life. And then went back to teach it for 2 summers while I was in college and had an even better experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, teaching
really
is
nice.
is an awesome thing, but teaching and then being involved with aquariums and bringing the nature to the kids, and then crazy nights in Key West. I
Yeah.
tell you,
Yeah.
it's a perfect synergy.
Yeah, not that far away.
Yeah,
33
too
miles
easy.
away.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah, the reason I really wanted to ask that question is because I just have to say, that's one of my best memories. My childhood memories was going to sea camp, and I want to promote that here real quick. For anyone who's got a kid that's really wants to really explore the ocean and get a better understanding, and get educated, and just have fun.
I'd say anyone who has a kid.
Yeah, right, exactly. Anyone's a kid. I mean, look up sea camp and send them down there, and then you can have a mommy and daddy date night while they're gone or whatever.
Yeah. Or no, it's
But
2 or
really,
3
it's a-
weeks.
Yeah,
I think 1, 2, or 3 weeks, depending on what session you go.
yeah,
And if you're a teacher, you can bring your classroom down there for 2 or 3 days.
yeah, right.
That's what I did.
Right? That's like the 5th grade trip. That's the
That's
big
what I
7th
did.
grade trip.
When I went down there, I learned more in that little trip than I did in semesters of schooling.
Yeah.
On the matter, and
The reality of the hands-on. They got
Yeah.
experiments. You can make jellyfish,
Mhm.
upside down jellyfish, pulse faster by making it more salty in their world or making it
Yeah.
hotter. And they make that real for you. You don't do that in a classroom. You do that at sea
you
camp.
go get it and you bring
you
it
figure
back
it out,
and you do it
and you
That's
understand
real
science.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never
100%.
went there.
What?
No.
I'm sad now.
Outside.
We went to
Oh,
Disney
sorry,
for our
John.
5th grade trip. But I did get to do a lot of that stuff down in the Cayman Islands. I worked with the Department of Environment over the summer times when I go there to visit my dad. And I go out and get a lot of hands-on stuff down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. So they do that down in the Caymans too.
Yeah.
Okay.
They try and get a lot of the kids down there involved with the Department of Environment and the marine world down there because they're surrounded by it.
Yeah. It is what it is
Yeah.
down there. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
So marine biology education, this is
Mhm.
exciting. Reef Institute does this a lot up in Palm Beach County. But our buddies Johnny Lose, Miles Foreman,
Mm-hmm.
made it possible for children in this area. They underwrote a couple sessions of camp for this summer. And I think details are coming out, but I don't know if it's like 30 kids in this area with a little bit of paperwork could do a marine science camp, like a good one.
Really?
Sea camp quality.
I have 2 kids that would
Let's
probably
look
love
into
doing
this.
that. Yeah.
Let's look into this.
The so you guys are having a camp. This
I'll be
summer,
I'll be
right?
there personally doing certain activities.
Right.
As a full-blown scientist. We've got other scientists. We've got years of experience putting on a good show. An
Mhm.
educationally impactful, exciting marine biology experience for
Here
kids.
or at sea camp?
Excellent.
Here, this
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sea Camp-esque. I've taken some tricks from Sea Camp and developed them for this this county's enjoyment.
That's outstanding.
Sign me
I'm
up.
so happy the way
My
that
kid
question worked out.
Yeah,
to
that's
allow
gonna
us
be
to
awesome.
spotlight that because it's funny because I read that on your site about the summer camp and I wanted to kind of bring that. So I'm happy that happened the way it is.
Perfect.
So I'm going to jump around to Lenita.
Lanita.
Why do I keep saying that? Lenita. I'm so sorry, Lenita. 2 questions. She had a bunch. I'm only going to ask 2 more because we got to jump onto some of the other questions here. And she says you have to tell the eel on a plane story.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Please.
You want some more rum?
Yeah, no, but maybe a little bit. So we'll preface with this. We were talking about Disney a minute ago for your school trip. I never went to Disney World till I was like 30.
Good for you.
It was fun when I was 30, though. I tell you what, around the world, yeah. But instead, my parents strategically invested in, because my brother and sister weren't really biology oriented, there wasn't an excuse to do vacations around it, but we went to St. Croix one year.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Florida one year. I went as
Where's from?
From Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
I got down here as fast as possible. Though,
Yeah.
Soon thereafter, I did high school through there. Went to Virginia for college. Went to Hawaii for grad school. Did some traveling in between, and then this is my home now.
Yeah.
Been
Yeah.
here. Home base is the best for what we want to do.
Yep.
But when it comes down to it, I got some great marine biology vacations. I like to make the ice like chink.
It's part of
ice
the
and-
authentic quality of the show, right?
It's a really good microphone.
It's really a
ASMR.
no pores barred kind of show.
The Pilar bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Polar Bar, yeah.
Yeah, over. Thanks. So, when I was 13 years old, we were in St. Croix for February vacation. And we were on a marine biology focused family adventure. Snorkeling every day, flipping over rocks. And we had brought a battery powered air bubbler with the intentions of bringing a few animals back on the airplane for my aquariums. My parents let me have like 10 aquariums when I was a kid.
Really?
Oh, they were very supportive. There was water stains in the
outstanding.
downstairs
That's
ceiling
so
from
important,
leaks.
isn't it? Isn't it so important
That's
for your
key.
parents to really kind of
Oh,
support
if
these
you want your
things?
kid to live their best life and dream, support the silly things.
That's how my parents
Yeah.
were with art.
Right?
And
I have a similar story.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of parents
You
were
than
like,
you.
when they find out when oh, you're
Once
an
you find
artist,
the
like,
last
oh, there's no
passion.
future in that. Like, people have said, like, even Paul Casanova was on this show and said the same thing. He wanted to be a comic book artist. He even wanted to go to the art institute. And then ended up, they wanted him to get a law degree at UF. He's like, I don't want anything to do with that. And he ended up going on the radio. But he wanted to be a comic book artist. And his father would be like, oh, you're not going to make a future out of that, blah, blah, blah. He poo-pooed on the whole idea. But yeah, I think it's important.
If you don't know what you want,
If you
you
have
get a lot of
supportive
what you
parents,
don't.
I'm telling you, if you have supportive parents, you can do anything.
Anything. NASA,
Yep,
anything. You can design
100%.
shoes.
100%.
It's like there's so many cool things where if you figure it out early, you do it. Interestingly, the irony of this doesn't escape me. So many kids these days, they don't want to be basketball players. They don't want to be doctors. The new thing is like, I want to be an influencer.
Yeah.
I want to do YouTube videos.
That's where Nicole's at right now.
Yeah, right. But
How did I know that
If
was coming?
you-
I was shaking my head before the comment.
if you have a little backing, a little motivation, or a little incentive,
That's
you
it.
can just do that,
Yeah.
and that's an awesome life.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put a little work in, man. You got to get your act together. But is that really? Is it just happening?
No. See,
Nicole,
No,
what was your story? You wanted to be something.
I was probably 9 or 10, and I was like, it was like 8 in the morning. I was like, Dad, I want to be a scientist. And he was like, yeah, okay. So I go to school, I come back, and he pitched a tent in the backyard, put a table in there and a little microscope. And I was like getting all the lizard eggs. And I was like,
Uh-oh.
it was crazy. And then
Uh-oh.
I didn't go in there for like probably a month, and everything was gross. And he was like, I'm done, this dream's over.
Yep. That's the end of the dream of the Jurassic Park died then.
Wow.
But it was fun.
Yeah,
And
no,
all my
it's
friends in there, and I was like, I'm a scientist.
doing sense. You have a little lab coat.
Yes.
Yikes. Of course.
That's nice.
Cool.
You're a little Jurassic Park right there.
Yeah.
Yes, all right, cool. So, thank you, Lenita.
Good
Said her name
questions.
right?
Good
And
questions.
then, all right, so the next set of questions, or this one is a paragraph question.
Okay.
So if you know Richard Bach,
I do. Good
which
guy.
you do, it might make sense why it's a paragraph question.
Yes,
no
I do.
relation, Bach, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he says, I had an interview with former chief scientist of Australia, Charlie Veron,
Yeah. Yeah.
who foretold the massive bleaching of the Greater Barrier Reef when it occurred, or before it occurred. That it's absolutely imperative to scientists and marine hobbyists to come together to save the corals in the wild in the future. Dr. Gregory is a person that is deeply immersed in both worlds, hobby and scientists, How do you think that the average marine hobbyist can help scientists and corals of the wild?
He's right. Bach can also help with this. This is important. Interestingly, aquarists, even the lower level hobby people just joining the culture and the experience, can keep coral alive in fish tanks in Wisconsin. And so, and tragically if is becoming a question of when, certain corals are endangered in nature, there's the potential for inadvertent seed banking. Between the public aquariums, we've got a lot of coral, but the hobby, there's some big aquarium stores that probably have the largest unintentional seed banks in the world of coral species. And if those get organized, that in of itself could be a source for sustainability.
Yeah.
At least a seed bank.
I think one of the battles of coral faces is that people just don't see it as an animal.
No, absolutely right. We need to make it fuzzy and intelligent, but we can't.
Yeah.
So instead I feel like we need to scare people or create some sort of a mythology around how awesome or valuable they can be.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish it was easier. I wish it was just a simple question of...
Don't you go down a slippery slope, though? Like
Yeah,
doing that?
you don't want to lie to them.
Right? Yeah,
You don't want to lie to them. You
go
don't want to
around
scare
this
people.
Seaspiracy kind of thing,
I
right?
need
Where you're
everybody-
lying to people about what the reality is of the matter.
Right.
But I think it's just education and like the realistic education of what's going on. The problem is, here's the problem, I think. I really do think this. Like, it's tough to just drive home the point with people with simply just education. Because there's no shock value to it. There's no conflict. Anything that tells a good story, right? All those things. And so it's tough to make the point to people without shocking them.
Right.
Or fear.
Right? Or scaring them, which is, it's a problem. That it's a human nature problem, and it's a reality problem for like the cause and effect of what's happening. So trying to find a way to do that is very difficult.
It's why most of these documentaries, social journeys, are taking the shortcut just to create an emotional response, to emotionally hijack people.
Yeah, it's irresponsible though.
What I think is the most strategic way forward in the terms of education is create an experience that's
Make it
real,
fun.
that's impactful for as many people as possible. Ideally, this is funny, it's get the kids. They're not stupid. They're not overly impressionable, especially middle school age, high school age. You get these kids that you create a realistic understanding of the situation, the problems, an appreciation of the animals, of the ecosystem, and they will essentially police their adults. They will, just like, I don't know if you've experienced this, you guys with kids, your kids come home and get on you about recycling or get on you about implications of the world right now.
The plastic six-pack holders.
Yeah.
I cut them.
If I throw one out, or if
time.
anyone in our house, like my parents or like aunt, uncle, or whatever, tries to throw one in the garbage,
They're policed.
they don't hear the end of it from
Yeah.
my kids.
Great.
Yeah.
Then we're doing it right.
Yeah. You just killed a turtle.
And we're doing it
They're
right.
looking at them straight in the eyes. You just killed a turtle.
I hear you.
Just like that. And they're like, what? I killed a turtle? Just threw something in the garbage.
I think I've always cut them after seeing the movie Happy Feet, the cartoon when the penguin gets stuck in one of the holes of the plastic rings. Yeah.
Legit.
That was a good question. I think that it's interesting that you bring up that perspective on
I'm not trying to be too strategic.
pods of sustainability
Yeah.
all across the country. That's great. Miles Foreman,
The Miles Foreman.
the Florida legacy Miles Foreman, asks a very serious question.
All right. Is it like
He
NSYNC
says-
versus Backstreet Boys? No, he's a big music guy.
He says, Dennis, say this.
Dennis. Listen, Dennis.
Imagine Miles' voice. Dennis, say this.
Yep.
I hear you work with koi fish. What are a few recent stories that would be fun to tell? Because I hear the owner can get very attached.
There are serious owners and serious fish. Tomorrow, I will be in a pond with large nets and potentially hook and line to outsmart a somewhat feral, very valuable koi fish. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with koi fish. Man.
What?
Yeah, koi
You
fish.
gotta explain that to me. Why?
So, one of my customers,
Give me the science.
One of my clients is moving and moved a few of his nicest. This guy really cares for the fish. Wanted to put a few large koi into a farm pond. A farm pond is, it's a natural setting. There's a lot of little fish that are in there. There's some cattails, and he wanted them to live their best life for a little while he moved, and then he would come pick them up. But it's a little too Wild West in there for them. So we got to get them out of there. And I'm a veterinarian, but I'm also pretty good at doing fish psychology. We're not gonna drug these guys. We're not gonna need to dart them from afar.
All right, we're breaking new
Fish are
ground.
so
We're breaking new
But we
ground
need
for
to-
Connected by Water.
Fish are
We're going to
crazy.
be netting
We are
them. We're going to be barrier netting them into a corner. And if we must, we can hook and line them, debarbed. I'll give them a little super glue in the puncture wound. I'll have certain alligator forceps ready if they swallow it by accident. And I'll give them a shot of amoxicillin if we have to do that.
I love it.
These fish,
Can I
they're
come?
valuable.
Yeah.
They're
Can I
very
come
valuable.
witness
They're
this?
super
They
smart.
get
I
vaccines.
need to
They're
see
very
this.
smart.
I need to see this.
Okay, we'll
So
take a
we are
minute.
breaking new ground on Connected by Water. We are discussing
Fish
fish psychology.
Psychology.
Right? This is great.
Smarter than people realize.
Think like a fish.
Aren't
Right?
they
That's
really?
Nicole's goal in life is to think
Oh.
like a fish.
Just today. So we feed baby sharks Monday, Wednesday, Friday
Mm-hmm.
at the Reef Institute. Everyone's invited. If one
I used
of
to
the,
do that. I used to do that at Montmarine
What?
in Sarasota. When I went to Ringling,
So you can train them.
when I went to Ringling, right? It wasn't my job. I volunteered to do it. Right? But it was my job though. I would go twice a week to Montmarine Laboratories, and my job was to feed the rescued nurse sharks.
Cool job.
Yeah, to make sure that they're, and I had to keep track of which ones were eating and which ones were not. You know what I mean? And they would all just, they just go in a circle. They just like cycle around like that. You just got to make sure, you didn't eat yet, and sometimes you have to grab them by the dorsal and make sure that, they got it. Yeah.
Nurses can be trained to come to station.
Mhm.
A lot of sharks and fish can.
Yeah.
Pufferfish are extremely intelligent. We got Smiley Cyrus at the nonprofit, lives in the window.
Miley
This
Cyrus.
pufferfish, had for 5 years.
Wow.
This fish, interns are going to start training it on color cues, like red, go to the left, blue, go to
Yeah.
the right.
What?
What's your favorite food? Yeah. But the sharks, if they are able to steal a shrimp out of the mouth of the zebra eel, for example, they then, for the next 2 weeks, are all over that eel whenever it's feeding time. Because they know the cue means they get way bigger of a piece than they deserve for that one moment of feeding. And they're smart enough to just, you reinforce them by accident once to steal it from the eel, and they just follow that guy around for weeks.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. Smarter than we think.
So that's your koi answer, Miles.
There you go.
All right. So our last question comes from Senor John Los.
All right.
John Los. He says, as the chief science officer of Clean Waterways,
Science. Clean waterways.
right, as well as one of the founders of Reef Institute, what has it been like working with Miles and John and the rest of the Clean Waterways company as compared to your work in the nonprofit and government world of the Reef Institute? What have you learned from working with John, Miles, Mike, etc., and the Clean Waters team? I know there have been synergies between what both organizations are trying to accomplish and the balance between it all. I really need to do
Wow.
these strange questions sooner before I drink rum.
Wow. No, I have the perfect answer for that. Wow.
I'm sure you do. You have the perfect answer for everything.
So, I started the Reef Institute originally as a business, Healthy Aquatics, with the guy who taught me business in vet school. He and I evolved it into a nonprofit because it was so rewarding, and we really liked the idea of interfacing with school groups and solving the coral crisis. He died in a plane crash like 2 years ago. Ken Simmons. Ken Simmons. He was a very successful, big veterinary practice guy.
I'm sorry
up
to hear that, Charlie.
Yeah, it sucked. It was bad. But he taught me so many things about business and about the nonprofit world and how to move fast and how to make decisions and how to do what's right while surviving, while doing what you got to do. Right? So in that context, I got in the nonprofit world. I was so lucky because I'm very passionate about coral conservation, doing what we need to do. What I didn't know too much about or learn about, and it's funny because the way the question is worded, because Miles and Johnny Lowe's have taught me so much about the politics of reality.
Yeah.
Right? We, in the Reef Institute, have been so lucky to be outside of a lot of circles of politics. We work hard. We're amazing bang for the buck. And the government agencies that we work with, I think, see this, and our partners appreciate us because we work very hard and we get a lot done. And we do what we say we're going to do. Right? We really get it done. We got a lot of things cooking, and they're all not strategic in like a sneaky sense, but strategic in a fixing the problem sense, right? It's not violins on the Titanic anymore.
Right.
Clean Waterways is an extension of that. This team in Fort Lauderdale, in this county, saw the problem of sewage leaks, the potential of things like oil spills and ongoing pollution in the environment, and said, how do we fix this? We're not dancing around it. We're not testing it. We are doing all of that in a way that no one's ever done. We're watching it very closely. We're implementing technology to address the problems, and we're creating a big master plan to fix it. And
you have.
We are, the pilots are underway.
I don't want to mince words on that now.
The technology is being implemented
plan
now.
To fix it.
The machines are already at work. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll be releasing that in the very near future, widespread.
I am so goosebumps about
It's a
this
big
project
deal.
that you guys have been working on.
And you've got an inside track, but it is
I got an inside track on it, and I'm not going to overstep my
It's a
bounds here,
sweet
but
deal for
I
South
know
Florida.
what you guys got cooking.
Oh,
And
there's
when listen,
all the
when
tests
the
are
irons
coming
get
back.
fired up and boom, 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 boom,
All the
boom,
tests
it's
are coming back.
revolutionary.
Revolutionary. That's the right word.
Revolutionary.
That's the right word. So
Like all these, all right, so I just want to tease this a little bit, right? And I don't think I'm going to be overstepping my bounds a little bit on it, but I do want to say it like this. All the algae problems and all these issues that we've been having in our intercoastal
Oil
waterways
spills,
and
red
all the different
tides.
things, right?
cyanobacteria, blue-green algae.
You guys have made something that's
Dinoflagellates?
going to make it all go away,
If scaled,
if scaled
and
properly.
here's the question. It's so funny. Like a downtown skyscraper costs more than scaling this for the entire coast. Like hundreds of miles of this. So it's just a question of human.
And it's a trickle down process because it's economically speaking.
It all comes back
It's
to
going to
the original point.
exponentially grow.
It's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Government, the environment, and the economics. It's win-win-win. So
I can't wait to unzip my mouth about this.
yeah, it's going to be pretty. What we can talk about is
You talk about what we can talk about because I'll say too much.
the science is there, the prototypes are all in order, and patents are pending. So therein lies the compromise.
Right.
But the arrangements are, I think, already set in stone, and we're going to be demonstrating proof of concept. We've been approached by a lot of international technology groups to encourage this. We've been solicited by major investing groups to
so excited.
invest in this.
I'm so excited.
But it's
Listen,
to answer
I
the
named my
question,
show Connected by Water, and named my
right.
business Connected
I was
by
gonna,
Water.
I was going
We're
to
all
sum it all
connected
up.
by
I was
water,
going to sum
right?
it all up. I love it. Right. So the Reef Institute does the technology for artificial reefs and creating an infrastructure to protect the coast. But we need to stop polluting the coast in the first place.
Yeah,
and this
that
will
might be good
create
too.
a technology wall. This will create a very sustainable, and this stuff, I can't say this, it oxygenates the environment. It removes pollution. DEP doesn't know what to do with us, I think, right now, because
We stumped them.
we're not using chemicals or anything. We're using technology that literally oxygenates the environment and
Yep.
removes the exact garbage that is in there. It's pretty remarkable. And
you got a great team.
I think the
I mean, with John Lowe's,
Right.
and Miles Foreman, and Mike Lamberts,
yeah,
Richard
Richard Bach, I think
is
is
now,
him.
right?
Yeah. Shane Lafreniere, big tech guy,
Mm-hmm.
and then
And you.
and me.
Don't forget you.
I like the science, man. We're gonna science the shit out of this. It's gonna be awesome. And then CCA.
CCA.
Mikey Lambrix.
Yep.
He's
So I'm glad you brought up CCA, right? Because we are big supporters of the CCA at the studio, because we know all the good things that they do. I mean, it really is. We don't support a ton of organizations here, but
Gotta be selective.
when we do, we go all in. And we are all in with the CCA. Right?
They
we
make
are
good
all in
decisions.
with Freedom Fighter Outdoors, right? That take
Good dudes.
that support the veterans.
Yep.
And we are all in with the CCA. We are all in with the Boys and Girls Club of South Florida. We are all in with supporting not just Surfers for Autism, but all the autism organizations that are in our biosphere. Because I think that everyone should support their autism groups that are in your biosphere, right? And I think if everyone does that, then hopefully we make some progress there. But I didn't mean to get off the beaten path.
no.
So-
That's a perfect spread. That's
Yeah.
the perfect spread.
Yeah, and that's what we do here at the studio with Connected by Water. And our ultimate goal is clean water, right? From our causes. That's really ultimately what we're all for. Because we think if you don't have the clean water, you don't have anything.
Given
right?
the name, yeah.
So
But
you
that's
don't
what
have
we're all
clean
about.
water, you don't have anything. So I mean, just look at any country in the world that doesn't have clean water. Everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But back to clean waterways.
Yeah.
And your product. I mean, we've been talking about this for, at least we have, the group and Connected by Water, for months now. And you guys have been talking about it longer. But when Johnny first started telling me about, hey man, this is what we got going on. And I was like, what? And like the clouds parted when he said what he said to me. And I'm not going to say anything, but it's revolutionary.
So these guys brought to me also the reality of the human landscape.
Mm-hmm.
The politics of it is so important.
Yeah.
But in this project, it's, I think, going to highlight what we've been saying at a few important points through our conversation today,
Mm-hmm.
that it's a win-win-win. It is they did. They polled the people of Fort Lauderdale and said, what's number one right now? Clean water.
1,000%.
Tragic sewage leaks.
Here,
Persistently now.
Biscayne Bay.
Biscayne Bay is even...
Fort Myers.
It's becoming
And it's going to go. Listen, we talk about it on this show all the time about what the bigger towns are experiencing. The Miamis, the Fort Lauderdales, the Pompanos.
It's because the small towns aren't looking yet.
Small towns are going to get it eventually.
They're not looking yet.
They're
That's
not
the
looking yet
problem.
because we're talking about infrastructure issues. We're talking about replace your sewer lines now before
Right.
it's too late. Look at us as what not to do. Like, look at what Fort Lauderdale went through as your example of what to change.
Right.
Please get ahead of that, or at your own peril, because it's going to happen to you. Because Florida is the last frontier of the United States.
I agree.
It really is.
We still have a lot of fun out here. But,
That's it. Well, it's the last frontier. We were the last to get developed.
Right?
Right? Even if you look at, all right, follow me here. I'm hung up on black sails right now. Have you seen this show?
I saw a season or two.
You saw a season or two, right?
Yeah.
I got hooked. I'm addicted. Whatever. Like
How many seasons are they in?
I think there's 4.
Right.
But I know the whole story already because I'm a pirate nerd.
All right.
I really am a pirate.
So they stick to the historical. It's a little historical fiction.
Maybe 85%.
All right.
You know, you got to throw in your, whatever.
Yeah, some romance.
Like the Captain Flint actually never existed.
Okay.
Right, but
That's my favorite guy.
All the rest of them did.
All right.
So why he's even in the
gangster.
show, I have no idea. So maybe a little less than 85%, because he's like the main character. He never existed. But Charles Vane and all the other guys,
Right.
the Blackbeard, Edward Teach, they all did. Anyway, you notice that they just talk about being in Nassau, but whenever they go back to land, they go back to North Carolina.
Or
They
somewhere
never
between.
talk about coming to Florida.
Okay, because it
Because
wasn't
we're
there yet.
inhabitable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It was just
jungle.
like sand and mosquitoes
disease.
and alligators.
Yeah.
There's no hard
And
land
Indians.
anywhere,
And
right?
Indians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You got tribes, bad stuff, right?
It was its own world.
Yeah, its own world. I mean, bad stuff for the white faces
Yeah.
come over and you're
Settlers.
gonna get annihilated.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So they just go to North Carolina,
Right.
right? Florida's hot. There's mosquitoes. There's
Right.
the
Wasn't a
guy
big
that
player in the Civil
invented
War.
air conditioning was a Floridian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Do or
his
die.
statue sits there at the Capitol building in Tallahassee. The guy doesn't get nearly as much credit because the entire world uses his technology. Right? This is the truth.
Science motivated by necessity.
Right. Exactly. The mother of all invention.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. Florida was the last to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Out of the entire country. Everywhere else was, So that's it. Right? It was the last place to get developed. I don't even know where the hell I was
So
going
we've still
with
got
this.
a good Wild West attitude,
Right.
and we are creating solutions that are outside of the box.
I realize where I was going with this now. So the sewage,
Yeah.
right? So when they built Florida, they built it like rubber band engines
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, let's just put some
Slap it
pipes in
together.
there because the people from New Jersey and New York are going to move down here. They're going to live here half the year. Who cares? Just don't build it right. Well, it's been 60 years now. And all those old, skinny, thin pipes that you put in here just to run a little water, they're all getting old, right?
Even the Fort Lauderdale ones, the big
Yeah.
ones that are going, I thought they were younger than that. I thought they were like 20, 30 years old.
Yeah.
And it's this encroaching salt table. It's these higher tides than normal.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes.
So we completely migrated and segued out of our Strange Questions segment,
Yeah.
right?
We migrated into the clean waterways,
The clean waterways.
and the solutions are abound.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm going to give it to Lanita as the winner because she had like so many questions and she
Okay.
got really excited about it.
Did
So
we-
if I didn't give her, she doesn't get the T-shirt, then I don't.
She gets a T-shirt.
That's
Fantastic.
absolutely. I'll hand it to you.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We didn't answer. I think her question was the
The
more
eel
than
on the
eel on
plane.
an
The
airplane.
eel on a plane. So you want to?
As
That's
a young
what I was
child.
getting at. You want to wrap it up.
As a young
with
child,
that.
I was a marine biology enthusiast. The family was in St. Croix, and we didn't just catch a coral banded shrimp and a French angelfish, but my entire carry-on luggage was like a 2-gallon, triple-layered supermarket bag with an air bubbler with a maybe 2-foot green moray eel
Man,
in
you
it.
were into this stuff.
Yeah, 2-foot green moray eel. I dragged the pipe out of the ocean and spilled it into my bucket, and this eel appeared thrashing and spitting, biting. And so, of course, I got to bring that home to Massachusetts. And about halfway through the flight, about halfway through the flight, because the bubbler, I had to open the top a little bit, and an eel is skinny. It escapes, of course, on an airplane.
Next to you.
Eels on a plane.
Eels on a plane.
Starring
Yeah.
Dr. Charlie Gregory.
Yeah. So it's writhing up and down the aisle. I have no idea where it is. I've kind of like given up. I'm a 13-year-old and I don't really know what to do. There's some older ladies next to us that saw it happen and they were like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "Shut up, we're all good." And eventually it flops back to my feet. This is like 10 minutes later, but eels can survive in tide pools. They absorb oxygen to their skin.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was self-preservation that this guy came back or blind luck, but it was
I
flopping
better
around
go
at my
back to
feet.
where that bag full of water was.
Flopping around at my feet. But here's the thing about them. They're slippery, too. They're like one of those toys that you can't hold on to. And I was trying to grab it, and it was slipping, and it bit the shit out of me.
Really?
Like, I still
I
have a
thought you were
scar
saying
right here.
later than your dad's gin and tonic.
Even better, the only way I was able to get it back in the bag was because it was attached to my hand. And I lowered it in, and there was blood in the bag. There was blood everywhere. There was blood all over the seats. And and I wrapped it up, and the bubbler was still kind of on there, but at that point I was like, good luck, friend. Like, I don't know what to tell you. We're going to see how it goes. But so flight attendants, hostesses eventually came by and were like, oh my God.
I really don't know what the political
Yeah.
term is to me. You're looking at the wrong dude.
Yeah, nice ladies who
I'm
try to
saying
keep the
stewardess
peace.
to this day,
Stewardesses,
so I
they
think
try to
you're
keep
right.
the peace on the
Yeah.
airplane, and they look at me and they're like, "What?" And I told them I
There's
had
an
a
eel in my
seatbelt
hand?
malfunction. Yeah. So all of a sudden, I'm
Did they
the head
think you
of
were
their
talking
attention.
in code? No.
Maybe, but they didn't push it. It was pre 9/11, so they didn't push it. And this eel got home, lived in a side container next to my aquarium, and I traded it to the fish store that I ended up working at a year later. And I think it lived in my fish tank for a day or two and ate half of my fish, and then we put it in the side aquarium on the bubbler. But overall, pretty exciting and interesting smuggling experience. Right? You wouldn't be able to get away with
I
that.
think you got your internet video there.
You would not
That
be
is
able to
great.
get away with that in this day and age.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I could so imagine you like feeding him chicken, like when you get your dinner on the
Right.
plane.
Oh my god. Can I have a bag of blue chips and
I mean, surely it went through the
That's
X-ray.
That's my
Yeah.
friend here.
I'll have your fillet. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Eels are
That's great.
smart, but it takes a couple months to get them under line, to get them in line.
Yeah,
they're
I'm
not,
sure.
They're not cool, at least initially.
Yeah.
We're gonna tie it all up with this last question, right? And this is why I wanted Lenny to win. Because I really think she asked the most poignant question out of all.
Okay.
And I didn't ask it yet. Strange questions are over. She's already the winner.
All right.
Okay. But I want to end it with this one. Because I think it's really, really, really important.
All right.
Because it speaks to what we talk about on the show all the time, which is our favorite word, passion.
Okay.
Okay, passion is clearly our favorite word on the show. I'm an artist, I do it because I'm passionate about it, right? We talk about fishing, we do it because we're passionate about it. Like, if you want to define it all, because you always ask, like, why do you fish? Why do you paint? And it's like, oh, you're not making, whatever. Passion, because it's above and beyond the meaning behind it all, okay? Why do you care so deeply about the ocean?
All right. I think I do have an answer to
You
this.
see why this is the most important question?
Yeah, passion is not a privilege. It's a goal.
Oh, I love it.
You don't work for it, you do it. And then as you're doing it, you celebrate that you're doing it. The ocean, I don't know. It calls to me. I could quote Moana or something. But at the end of the day, I'm lucky because it is actually very relevant, and I somehow guessed the right passion as a young child, but I didn't guess. Like, I knew and I worked for it, and I created a lifestyle / career out of it. But in this day and age, it happens to be a very important thing to pursue, and with a certain skill set, it's my privilege to try to create solutions for the worldwide problems. But marine biology, aquarium science, aquaculture, coastal and intercoastal and nearshore conservation is a science that we can explore and solve our world's greatest problems with. I truly believe. So, if that's the answer to the question, then we can stop right there.
Dr. Gregory, I want to thank you for coming in and sharing your time with us today.
All right.
Like, you are an amazing dude. Like, you really are. I mean, you're just a great guy, above and beyond all of it. Like, you really are just a good person.
Thank you, Dr. Friel.
Yeah. Hey.
You're a doctor of your world, man.
Yeah, well, and listen, just coming on and just sharing your honesty with us, you know what I mean? Because there's overall, in any industry, you can feel pressure from your peers to take different stances on different topics, and to compromise your opinions and your values, your virtues, based upon what industry standards are supposed to be. And I'm so happy that you have the courage to come out and just, speak, whether you want to call it truth or, just, fact, or, just being honest about how you feel.
No, it's not a delicate dance. It's not even, you and I celebrate balance, but we're lucky. This is a win-win-win.
Yeah.
It's literally, politically, economically, and ecologically in line at this strange circumstance in human circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It's lucky, but let's
yeah,
run with it.
But you know what, it's like, it's rare. I really do think it's rare, that someone is in a field like you're in, and you're just like, say, I don't care. This is how I see it, and this is just what these are the words that are going to come out of my mouth, like it or not. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that, and I respect that about you greatly.
Cool, man.
And that is outstanding. So,
I do absolutely want to. We had a good conversation. I think we didn't touch on revolutionary solutions. I think I gave a good explanation about what we can do with the reef, what we can do with artificial reefs.
You want to touch on it? Go touch away.
No. A conversation for the next one.
Yes.
All right.
I love the idea of let's strategically bring in
So you want to do the panel?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll throw some fishermen on that panel too.
And if you need my help, I can help you find the
Oh, I need your help.
scientists
There's no doubt about it.
and the government people.
There's no doubt about that. I need your help.
Yeah.
We all need your help.
I need your help.
Okay.
Let's
so
do this.
We'll do it together.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen. That's easy.
Perfect.
That's easy. We already got the guys. We already got the people.
All right.
You know what I mean? And it's not about formulating opinion or trying to change hearts and minds. Maybe it is, but
It's about talking about things that are
It's
real.
just about laying it out on the table and letting people decide once they have all the facts out on the table. That's all. That's all it comes down to. Right? If you still want to go that direction after hearing what we have to say, then by all means. Right?
Right on.
So, all right, cool. We want to say thank you once again to all of our sponsors that keep the lights on in the show. I grabbed the wrong piece of paper like 5 times. So, Joey Cardi, Chrysler Jeep Ram, we love you. Papa's Pilar, remind you never to be a spectator, we love you. Papa's Raw Bar, right? Yaman,
Yaman.
eat, drink, and be local. Okay, Papa Amigos opened up their store soon. ACR, the Science of Survival.
Yeah,
Right?
get
Maui
one.
Jim, right? Let's go.
Maui Jim.
Molokai reminds you that anywhere, aloha. Okay? Your ego, it's not your amigo.
Ha.
Always do your best and remember, just let God do the rest. And do not ever forget, Nicole, what are we not supposed to forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all what?
Great.
Connected by water.
Thank you. You work here.
We're all great though too. She's
No matter
absolutely
where we
right.
are, no matter what we're doing, we're all connected by
We're
water.
all great and connected by water.